Thank you for tuning in once again to his Vine and Fig Tree podcast. My name is Kurt Olson. I'm your host, coming to you on the morning of July 29th, 2026. And as we are fast zooming through summer, fall's going to be upon us really quickly. A lot of people trying to get in last stuff before college and school starts and all that other stuff. And I hope summer is going well for folks. But the most dominant thing in the media the past 4 or 5 days has been the diary entries of Tony Fauci. Um, Senator Rand Paul is chairman of a committee. Even now, he is testifying before that committee. Tony Fauci has pled the fifth. He's not going to be answering any questions from the committee. Um, he, is complaining about private thoughts being released publicly, and because he knows he looks foolish as this man with a God complex. Um, and I am one who believes that COVID accountability is long overdue. Our country has not had a serious reassessment of what happened during COVID. We aren't even close to touching on the things that demand attention from the public health and medical communities for what unfolded during that time. Um, and if you did not live in a navy blue state, you don't know what life was like. Now, I previously lived in Ohio, and the former health director there, Amy Acton, is the Democratic nominee for governor there. And she is going to have everything that happened during COVID stuffed down her throat. It will be interesting if Vivek Ramaswamy can pull off enough of the raising doubts about her ability to lead to pull this off. But enough about Ohio, because Ohio is a red state in the Midwest. But if you did not, I live in New York, and here in New York, we've had one party rule in this state since somewhere in the 20 teens. And the recipe that unfolded with COVID became an opportunity for them to be drunk on power. And it's happened over and over and over again. And there's a lot of people that just want everything with COVID to just go away because there's too many bad memories of that period of time. It was potentially loved ones who died, illness that people in the family went through. It was just all of the ramifications of all of the edicts and diktats from from government that unfolded at that time. And we are learning through these diary entries that everything that you thought about Tony Fauci, a narcissistic sociopath, yeah, that's him. He was overly focused on his media persona and his ability to get on podcasts and national TV interviews and all this other stuff. And what we've seen over the last 4 or 5 days since this stuff became public, that one of the most dangerous men to be in this role that he had, simply because it, he was such a narcissist, and the well-being of the public was going to be the last thing that was on his mind. And I just want to cite a couple things that happened during COVID that just kind of underscore how, if you weren't in a blue state, you don't know what life was like. Because I've heard people who say they moved from California to Nashville, Tennessee, and it was like Mardi Gras, or they have some other description for it, because there weren't face masks. I mean, I live in Western New York. There are people still wearing face masks today. Here we are, 6 years later, following everything that started with COVID in March of 2026, or March 2000. And just a couple of stories, just a couple of personal anecdotes. Um, and both of these go right back to the first year. So I was a teacher at a Christian school here in this area, and I had a son who played basketball on the school team, and they had won their Christian school conference title in 1819, and in 1920 we happened to be hosting the tournament. Now, we were just, what, 2.5 weeks removed from school being shut down when that tournament was held in the school gym. We had we had people from Chautauqua County, New York, Erie, Pennsylvania, Meadville, Pennsylvania, and Oil City, Pennsylvania in our gym that entire weekend, Friday, Saturday. And I, I'm willing to bet we had 500 people um, at times in the building. And here we were, just 2.5, 3 weeks removed from society just tossing everything to the wind, shutting down everything and thinking they could restart it. No big deal. But that happened. And that weekend was gorgeous. We had great weather. Those teams from Pennsylvania were able to travel without to Western New York without. This was late February, so they were able to travel without much challenge at all. Our guys won a consecutive title that year. Our girls won the varsity title in that conference. And I remember specifically going out with family to celebrate the victory of the team. Because we had my brother and sister-in-law, we had some of the siblings on my wife's family. We all gravitated toward a local ice cream place, and we were able to sit outside and eat. And no big deal. And then everything happens in mid-March. And 2 weeks to stop the spread became, we don't know how long this is going to last, because they basically, after 2 weeks, they decided to shut down the school year, the rest of the year. And the class of 2020 um, had all late school year plans just thrown to the wind. And I can remember Memorial Day weekend. And not much was happening, but we were doing stuff as a family, and I wanted to take my son out to a basketball court. We looked at 4 or 5 in the area, ranging from Bemis Point to Lakewood to Jamestown, and not a single one was open. And it's you look back at just how comical it is that these people refuse did things to prevent people from exercising outdoors, which was probably the most beneficial thing anyone could do, because we found out that people with comorbidities, including um, excess weight, smokers, a variety of other things, that they were the most potentially vulnerable to getting this disease. And I was just incredulous that we had parks that had put boards over buckets or taken buckets down completely just so people wouldn't. And this happened because there were edicts from on high that said, "Oh no, can't do that." I remember they had um, yellow tape around a playground at a local school, and you look back and you're like going, It's like you were living in a dystopian novel that was unfolding before your eyes." And later that same year, and this was now later in the summer, just before the 2021 school year, um, my family, including my brother and his family, we were shooting some pictures for our mother. They were going to be a Christmas present that year. And it was a nice Christmas present. It was uh, really one of the last Christmas gifts that was family focused, and boom, it wasn't like something, a piece of clothing bought for grandma. It was, this is family, and we want you to have this. So we were outdoors. I'm not going to name the place where we went, but we ended up following shooting of the pictures. We went somewhere and again gathered to have some ice cream. And this was an ice cream place where you walk up and you're outdoors. It's not like you're going into, like, let's say, a Dairy Queen and ordering indoors. And this lady who was wearing a face mask made a comment about how, oh, some people don't have to abide by the rules. And at that, and it was funny because I had nephews who kind of looked at me and said, "Oh, Uncle Kurt, do not create a scene right now." I was this close, but I mean, the thoughts that were going through my head were two things right off the bat, ma'am. That face mask, not saving your life at all. And the other one was, ma'am, you do have a right to breathe fresh air. And the ironic thing was that day, there was a breeze. So it's not like the weather was just kind of still. And no, it was a nice, what, probably 20 plus mile an hour breeze that was going on at varying times. And those were things in that first year that just stick out like a sore thumb. And I'm not even going into some of the things that happened as a teacher at a school, and the things that I saw that affected my students or my kids. Um, but we are still living with the effects of COVID. COVID is now, 3, 4 years in the rearview mirror, but we're still living with it, folks. We are. It has shown up in our economy in various ways. It has shown up in how some people still do church online. It uh, it it has had countless ramifications throughout our culture, and I am one who believes accountability is long overdue, and I don't think we're going to get it. And then speaking of government overreach, that's going to transition me to Perry Kirby. Perry Kirby is a gentleman, and there will be some links in the description to the podcast that I will direct people to. But Perry Kirby is a 70-some-year-old Tennessee resident who, um, I don't know if it was the most immediate tax year. Kind of makes sense that would be the case. But sometime recently, Perry Kirby was sent a $20,000 refund check by the federal government. And he has been trying to return it ever since. And it's to a point where the IRS is now making multiple various kinds of threats to Mr. Kirby because, he has the money. There's penalties with that, all that other stuff. And it is shocking to me how a U.S. citizen can attempt to go out of his way to inform the government they made a mistake, and they will in turn flip it and come against him. Needless to say, there are people who are in the U.S. Congress who are aware of this, and it has yet to be resolved. This is just rank government incompetence. This is the kind of stuff that, just like COVID, destroys people's confidence in the ability of government to do things. And it's one of the reasons why Americans have such low trust in government. It's one of the reasons why trust, credibility, all those really important things that we need to have in a society, why things are just so out of calibration right now. And that's going to push me to a additional information regarding JD Vance. Last week, I spoke at length about JD Vance, and I expressed my concerns on multiple fronts there. And also in the description of the podcast, some links related to JD Vance. So, in the past couple of days, Jeremy Boring, the former CEO of the Daily Wire, who is still in the Nashville area, and he has started a podcast. He interviews people one-on-one. He's done a sit down with multiple people as well. And Jeremy Boring was recently talking to Rod Dreher. Rod Dreher is now editor at large at the American Conservative. He is a columnist for the Free Press. And Jeremy Boring and Rod Dreher were talking at length about some things they see happening in the church in America. It's an over 2-hour podcast. And I'm a little over halfway through it. But there's a couple of things in this podcast that I want to draw people's attention to, and I am going to include shorter links to these in the description to the podcast. Um, but there's a moment when the two of them are talking about Rod Dreher. Now, Rod Dreher played the role of launching J.D. Vance's public career because Rod Dreher talked about the Hillbilly Elegy, the book that was about J.D. Vance living in Appalachia in the state of Ohio. And so Rod Dreher is critically placed as someone who knows J.D. Vance fairly well. And because of his standing on the right, he is also someone who has contact with a lot of movers and shakers and influencers on the right. And that has also included Tucker Carlson. Now, Rod Dreher goes into a story in an exchange that he and Jeremy Boring have related to something directly involving Tucker Carlson. I'm going to let them explain it. And the last statement in that clip is, and Tucker Carlson has the ear of J.D. Vance. And meanwhile, Rod Dreher attempted to go to J.D. Vance last fall. And I made reference to it last week. The thing that happened last fall was the famous Tucker Carlson Nick Fuentes interview. And Rod Dreher wanted to see his friend take a stand on this identity politics stuff going on right of center, where particularly white young men in their 20s, 30s were gravitating toward people who want to tear everything down. The system isn't working and got to tear everything down. And there are reasons why these people believe this. And it is a reaction, an opposite and equal reaction on the right as to what we're seeing right now on the left. And the left has been filled with identity politics for the longest time. They've been all about, this group, that group, some other group. But the point is that there are things there that should give people pause and a level of concern when it comes to J.D. Vance. I'm going to let Jeremy Boring and Rod Dreher make the case. And frankly, when I saw it, it just kind of reconfirmed why I came out and said what I said a week ago. And it's only cemented my perspectives on what's going on involving the vice president. So those are the three things I had for you this morning. The bonus thing I'm going to add in the description to the podcast is a 2-minute video on a kid in Santa Cruz, California, who saved a young child in a high surf. You have to see the video to believe what happened. As this young man who was a lifeguard save this little boy, and how others came to assist him in getting the two of them to shore. Um, it speaks for itself. And let me just add one comment to it. This is the kind of toxic masculinity we need in America, and far more of it. But that's all I have this weekend. I have a fresh column on Sunday, um, uh, dealing with something um, happening involving women's sports. I don't want that to be something. Well, I'm not interested in that, so I'm not going to. I think you're going to be interested in this because it has tremendous ramifications on the culture and things that involve identity politics on the left. Um, if you like what you're hearing here and if you like what you're reading, please share it. And for those who do, I thank you in advance. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. And until next time, God bless and goodbye.